Hey there, this is Derek Murphy. I'm going to try to show you how to format a book with Kindle Create. I will admit this isn't a program I use very often because I don't really like it. I'm a graphic designer, so what I'm looking for is something that's easy enough to use for most people. It doesn't really offer me the flexibility or design that I would usually prefer to have, but because I've started to publish quickly, I really just want like a quick, good enough solution than something that's totally custom designed. So I'll show you kind of where I got stuck and the process that I'm looking into for Kindle Create. So what I've started doing recently is just uploading my Word document straight into Kindle because it does a decent enough job. I did check, basically how things look with the Kindle previewer. There are a few little things with spacing that I've gone back and fixed in the manuscript. But if you basically format your Word manuscript good enough, most things should convert and look pretty good. So this is the book that I just finished. And you can see like there were some little notes to myself and there's too much spacing in the copyright page. So I fixed some of that. Sometimes with Microsoft Word, I forget to delete all of my side notes and then they show up and they're weird. This, for example, looks pretty good on Kindle. I don't think it embedded fonts because I did try to use a special font here for the chapter headings, but that doesn't really bother me. This is the kind of graphic I'm using for chapter headings, which looks fine. I have a non-indented first paragraph and then an indented body paragraph. So mostly this is, good enough. I'm okay with this. Except when I went up here to the table of contents, it doesn't show all of my chapters. And that's a problem because I really do need my table of contents to have all of the chapters. What used to work just fine, here's my Word document. And you can see that in the navigation pane over here, this is the font that I was using for the chapter headings. The font didn't get embedded. I did go to File, Options, Save, and Embed Fonts in the file. So I thought that would work because I think it used to work, but it seems like it didn't. That's also, I should point out, you can't necessarily trust the previewer because the Kindle Direct Publishing file previewer, I think it's the same as the look inside previewer that they show you on Amazon. And that's different from how you might see the document on a Kindle device. If the fonts are embedded, I think the Kindle device would read it. So I can't trust that the way it's looking on the previewer is the way it's going to look on devices. But I do want to, at least make sure it's clean and it all works. So I'm pretty sure it used to be the case that if I had basically, when you go to home and you have your styles, if you choose a heading 1 style and you set your style, even though I know the font or the style is probably not going to translate, as long as I'm using the H1 style, the font style, it'll show up here in my navigation pane, which is under, let's see, it's been a while since I've been in here, View, Navigation pane. So as long as this is checked, then I'll see, my chapters. This is an easy way to scroll through. And previously, when you convert a Word file to an ebook, if you've already set up the H1 tabs like this, they should automatically be pulled into a TOC, which is why in my Word document, I don't have a TOC like at the front of the book because it's automatically generated by my H1 tags. However, this time it doesn't look like that worked. And I know that KDP, I just made a video about KDP's dashboard. They've just added a few new features, especially for formatting the blurb or the description. So maybe things just don't work or maybe my memory is faulty, but I do need to find a way to, make sure my table of contents works. So I'm going to try Kindle Create real quick and see if I can fix that specific problem. So here's the Kindle Create pop-up. When I get started, I want to choose a reflowable ebook because I want it to be text. This is going to be the case for, most books. You're going to want it to be reflowable, which means you don't have a lot of control over the design. Things are going to shift and move around. But I'm going to go to choose file and pick my, my most recent formatted file. So it's pulled in my most recent Word file. It already it gives me a little bit of pause because you can see like this title page image I'm using for the title. I like to have it match my cover fonts a little bit, but it looks a little grainy, so I don't know if it's already shrunk some of my images or if it's just a faulty previewer. But it does have this little pane that says suggested chapter titles, which is great. These are all the ones that I've already used with my H1 tag. I'm going to take off this end here. But otherwise, these are the ones that I wanted. So I'm going to pick the ones that I want and accept selected. Hopefully that's going to fix my main issue. There's some weird stuff up here where it says untitled, and I'm not really sure why. And then I also have this copyright page. These are different sections. And then this is one. So this looks about the same as the previewer. Again, like the images, they don't look great. So I'm a little bit worried that it's shrunk my images and they're not going to look good. For images, even for like, dividers, they have to be pretty big or else they're going to look absurdly tiny on like an iPhone. If you have a 300 or even a 500 pixel wide image on like a 600 DPI iPhone, it's going to look really tiny. So I want these to be like 1200 pixels wide or something. Here it says I can choose the size, small, medium, or large, which is a little weird. I wonder actually if I can just pick full, and then that should leave it. I don't know if that's going to mean full width or if that means, the original resolution. So those are some things I'm a little bit worried about. Generally, I would convert my ebook and then I would open it in Sigil, and then I would often have to re-add all of the images, because when you convert from a Word file to an ebook, a lot of software will shrink your images so they don't look good. Kindle Create also does allow you to add some front matter, which is kind of cool. This is similar to Draft to Digital's free formatting tool. So I could add a title page, copyright, dedication, which is pretty neat. I wonder actually even if I should add a table of contents to the beginning. Like I mentioned, I typically don't for ebooks because I feel like most people will use the built-in table of contents that works with the device and not flick back to the beginning of the book to try to get around. But it's kind of cool that I have, these options. Similarly, in the back, I can go to Backmatter, and I can add books by this author, about this author, books in the series, praise for the author. These are all nice suggestions. It's a good idea to have some of these things. So, Kindle Create allows you to do that, but really, like, I already put in about the author. And it looks like, for example, here must be one comment to myself that I missed somehow in my Word file. But in Kindle Create, I can still edit. So I can still just go through and delete some stuff. Although, like, it looks like this little line that was added because I have a footnote. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get rid of that, but that's not a big deal. I also don't love the fonts that they're using, but the problem with Kindle or EPUB is that you can't really choose the body fonts because readers are going to change those body fonts anyway. What is pretty neat though is once I have this, mostly fine, I could go into print settings and I could choose to set up my headers or footers. This is really a pain in the ass to do in Microsoft Word. I usually do it anyway. I format in Microsoft Word, but it's a pain in the ass to check and double check and make everything right, and it's easy to screw something up and get the page numbers wrong or whatever. So if this is a really simple way to make sure it automatically takes the author name, the book title, it automatically puts in page numbers, that's really cool. That would save me a lot of time if I don't have to do that in Microsoft Word. And I can also choose a theme, so it's going to give me a few options. I don't really like any of these options. It is interesting how the preview shows, it shows a drop cap. Drop caps are a pain in the ass to do when you're formatting. You can set them up in Microsoft Word, but they don't really translate to ebook very well. So I don't really trust a lot of formatting software that do drop caps. I know that Vellum makes great drop caps, but it's a Mac only software. It's kind of expensive. Anyway, so I usually don't put drop caps in my books. But I might flip through here. It's too bad it doesn't automatically show me what this is going to look like. But I definitely don't want these fonts because they're just not nice fonts. I don't know if I can select a theme and then I'll also change the individual fonts. I know that with Vellum, for example, you could pick a theme, but you could also change the first paragraph and the heading, at least with a few different options. But I'm not sure if it's going to let me do that. So down here I have elements on the page, so I could click chapter title. And I'm waiting for a pop-up, but it's not working. It's being weird. If I go to formatting, I can choose paragraph. Here's a checkbox for apply drop cap, which did not work in that case. I wonder maybe I can just highlight the first letter and then go to apply drop cap. That works pretty well. I'm happy with that. But I think I'd have to go through and do it to every chapter, which I could do, but I'm not going to do right now. I could go to indents and change my indents or my spacing. So this is pretty robust. It gives me a lot of options. There's also something here that says set font face. So here is where I could set the font face for the body font, I think, but they don't give you any good choices. This serif, it's not even a great serif. It's a Bookerly serif. I don't really like it that much, but it's better than the sans serif. Because you don't want sans serif for the body font. The only thing would be, it looks like this would be for specific elements. So for example, if I did like a text message or, you know, a chat box or something, I could put some of my special text, highlight it, and then, yeah, I'd have to highlight it first, set the font face, and then I could change it to sans serif or monospace or something else, which, you know, is useful, but I guess I would do that in Microsoft Word, but like I mentioned, if you convert from Microsoft Word to eBook, it's not going to, you know, do all the fonts like you want them. So this would probably take effect and allow you to do some customized font changes. So I think what it's doing here, I already pulled in all of my chapter titles because I have them set up in Microsoft Word as H1 files. So they were already pulled in automatically. I didn't have to do anything. If you don't already have that set up, you'd have to highlight this and go to chapter title to make it take effect, basically. But I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that now. And then I could also highlight the first chapter paragraph and change that if I wanted to, which I also don't need to do because I already set this up in Microsoft Word, where I have a different style for the first paragraph and a different style for the other paragraphs. But if you didn't set all of that up in Microsoft Word and you just, you know, dragged it in Kindle Create really quickly, that would be fine. You can just basically go through and make all these adjustments manually with Kindle Create. It might be a little bit simpler if you don't really know how to use Microsoft Word and make all of the advanced changes that you need. I was really only trying to do one thing, which was make sure that I have this table of contents working correctly. So for now, I'm actually going to just save it. And interestingly, I did just download the latest version of Kindle Create. So I'm going to save this file and see if I can upload it and see if I have any different options. But this is allowing me to save it as a Kindle Create book, which I think is like an ongoing file that I can edit, but not an EPUB, which is what you actually need to publish. You used to need a Mobi file to publish on Amazon. They've changed that to go with the universal EPUB recently in 2021. So that's what I actually want to save it as. But for now, I'm just going to do this. Now that it's saved, I could preview it to see what it's going to look like as a Kindle device. This is on a tablet. I would also want to check how it looks on a phone. Looks fine. There's a lot of spacing above, you know, my chapter headings, probably too much spacing. I could go back in Microsoft Word and get rid of a lot of the spacing to get rid of the space. I like to have a lot of space on my chapter headings, but this is, you know, a little too much. I don't need that much, so I could fix that a little bit. Mostly it's fine. So then when I'm ready, I could go over here to publish, and that should let me export it as, it says a KPF file, which is also interesting. I expected them to give me the option of saving it as an EPUB rather than a package. So that's a little weird. So I did go ahead and update to the latest version of Kindle Create. It looks about the same. There's a different button over here that says generate, but it actually does the same thing. So I had to Google. Apparently you can upload the KPF file straight into Kindle. So this is what my file looks like. The only problem here is that because it's a KPF file, I can't just open it myself and check it out. With an EPUB, at least, I could open it, or even with a Mobi file, I could open it in, Kindle Desktop Previewer. But with an EPUB, I could open it in Sigil or other programs. With KPF, I don't think I can, open it to view to make sure it looks okay. But I can just upload the KPF to Amazon KDP dashboard, and then I could see in the previewer and check out and make sure it all looks okay. It also looks like there's a few standard elements. I don't remember if I missed this last time or if these are new. But so, if I was formatting my book from scratch, I could go through and add in the subheadings, the blog quotes. If you're formatting poetry, these could be really useful. Like I don't know what it does for poem or opening quote credit or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff in here that you could play with to format your book, and it's probably easier than formatting your book in Microsoft Word, but you'll have some limitations. So even though this did fix the problem I was trying to fix, I'm a little bit skeptical of it because I can't check it or make changes. So I may actually, go back to my old process I'm a little bit more comfortable with, which is converting into EPUB and then opening it in Sigil, just to make sure I have a really good looking EPUB that works. I was really just looking for like a quick and simple, race to the deadline, upload my Word file, and just let it be okay, let it work. And I could still do that. I think the table of contents would be broken, but it's better if it works. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to solve that problem, or I might just upload this file for now from Kindle Create because it looks like most of it will look okay as long as this TOC is working. Let me know if you have any questions. Sorry this isn't a super professional introduction to Kindle Create because I don't actually use it or recommend it that often, but it's a free program provided by Amazon that makes it easier to format your books if you don't want to learn how to format your books in Microsoft Word, which is a lot more complicated. There are some other options. I know Dave Chesson is working on Atticus, which is going to be a new PC-based book formatting tool. I know that Vellum is amazing. And sometimes I will, I'm on a PC, but sometimes I'll fire up my Mac in browser super buggy software so I can access Vellum, so I can format my books in Vellum. Vellum is super easy to use, very user-friendly, but I also feel like I'm, I have to redo a lot of things that I've already done in my Word file, and I don't get all the style design choices that I like. Like if I'm really going to custom format it from scratch, then I'm going to embed my fonts and make it all, look just how I want it. I'm really just looking for a quick and easy solution to upload my book without any fuss and make sure that it looks okay. So Kindle Create is one option that is probably going to work for a lot of authors who don't want to learn about book design. And it'll probably work fine for you as long as you're flexible and you understand that, especially with EPUB or eBook, you don't have the perfectly controlled design that you probably want. I know a lot of first-time authors, they freak out about things like hanging chads, like when sentences break and there's one sentence left at the end of a chapter on a new page, just one sentence by itself. Stuff like that you can't control because readers are going to change the fonts and the size and the line spacing, and everything's going to be reflowable. It's just going to move around. So you want to make sure that your chapter pages look okay. You want to make sure that your images look okay. Another thing that's common is authors freak out because they have a transparent PNG image and it shows with a white background, especially on some Kindle devices that don't have a white screen. They have like a gray screen, and then it'll show this like ugly white box. But even if you upload a transparent PNG, Kindle doesn't allow you to do that. They flatten all of them into JPEG. So, things like that are issues that authors may really struggle with because they want it to be perfect, but you just can't control everything. In an EPUB, you just have to make sure that the content works and it doesn't look broken. Let me know if you have any other questions. I do have a lot of book formatting tools at DIYbookformats.com and a bunch of Word formatting templates. Also, if you want to learn how to format, but Kindle Create is an easy free solution that might work for you. So I hope this brief introduction, at least shows you what's possible. Thanks. Bye-bye.